Alright, so Dylan, the difference between CBD, THC, and how this all blends together in terms of how it can be used in sport, essentially.
Sure. Okay. So CBD is a non-psychoactive phytocannabinoid that comes from the cannabis plant, which has got used for pain. It's got pain relief, antidepressant, anti-anxiety. It's one of those things that's good for athletes just to help them get to homeostasis, help them in the middle. Now, THC is something that is psychoactive, which is where it would overstimulate your brain and it would lead to affecting your brain. So if you're using it for appetite, so what it could do is it could stimulate appetite. If it is something where you need to sleep, it could stimulate you needing to go to sleep. So that's where it comes in place. So if you're looking at it for aftercare, it's something where if you've just played a game, you've been knocked, you've received all the sort of the post-traumatic sort of physical contact from the game. THC is a component that could help you for recovery, to tell you, so if you're having to think to eat, you wouldn't have to do that, because you could use THC to just help you sort of with your post-game recovery. So that's sort of the best summary to differentiate CBD, THC moving forward, if you was to look at it for applying it to sort of holistic health for an athlete.
Okay. So similar to some of the things we spoke about in part one, there's a stigma, right?
Mm-hmm.
And although we've heard the guys like Megatron, who has, I think he was promoting his own CBD and THC, is that right?
Yes.
Venture. You got guys like Percy Harvin, who came out and spoke about his use of CBD and THC during regular season games. Gronk, who partly retired and then promoted his own CBD. I mean, we spoke about it. Lockdown kind of happened, and then CBD was everywhere. But I just think it's interesting because we have so many of these athletes that I guess people look up to. You know, we play the sport, they play the sport, or did play the sport, promoting the use of CBD. I mean, these guys are, that if you've played the sport, you know what happens. Your body takes a lot of abuse, right? If these athletes are coming out and they're saying that they're able to, heal faster, feel better sooner, aid recovery in different types of ways, then you'd almost think, why not, essentially?
Yes.
But there is the stigma.
Yes.
Talk to us about that side
of
things.
Okay. So the stigma basically always comes down to THC, because THC is where you can't control it. So if you look at it for THC, if you're a child and you have epilepsy, and obviously your brain's overstimulated, THC would override your brain. So that's where the person doesn't have control of what THC does to their body, or what it synapses it fires off in the brain and what it works with. So when you're looking at the stigma, you would change it from recreational to medical. So if you're looking at the situation we're talking about, it's all medical. It's all about pain relief, holistic support. And again, if you're looking at it compared to stigma, opioids, Valium, tramadol, morphine, heroin, cannabis. What have you got? CBD, THC, Delta 8, Delta 9. So if you're looking at stigmas now moving forward, you've got versions like Delta 8, So Delta 8 is one molecule less than Delta 9, which is what you would use any street level cannabis. When you burn that will produce THC 9. Delta 8 is like one molecule off. It's like a Diet Coke. So it would give you everything, and then it would just have a shorter shelf life. Right. So if you're looking at moving forward for recovery, if you're looking at changing the laws, you would look at something like that to help stimulate it. Because if an athlete, you don't want to have it linger in your system, like Shahari Richardson, taking a drugs test, finding out that the shelf life is, well, you used it for post-traumatic stress because you found out from your mother passing away. If the shelf life means that the anxiety that you felt with this high intense, that would disappear, she could then go perform, have a blood test, she wouldn't test positive. If you're looking at it again, it has to be something that benefits the athlete, but it has to also be looking at that competition window. So again, this is where the stigma is a bit difficult, is someone like myself, cannabis is almost like a performance enhancer. So my brain synapses with my epilepsy is either my brain's too active and it needs to come down, or it's not active enough and needs to come up. When I introduce cannabis into my system, it makes almost the infinite effect. So I'm almost like, I can work at a peak level that people can't work out because it just basically keeps me in the center, if that makes sense. So like when you look at, again, homeostasis, that's the whole point of what it brings to you. So the science is bringing you to the middle. If I've got something that can keep me in the middle all day, it then works like the limitless pill. As long as I stay in that middle, I will not come under problem. But then again, you can't do what Percy Harvin did, play every game high.
Yeah.
You can't do what Josh Gordon did, because even to go even further into Josh Gordon, how much he consumes would be enough for like 3 adults for a week, and that's that's pre-game.
Right.
So if you're looking at moving forward, that's not a suitable, sustainable thing. So again, he's gonna have to do that for 16 games, and then the Super Bowl. Is he gonna have a special privilege? It's the same thing like A&R for a musician. You can't allow that for athletes in the competition setting.
Yeah.
Outside of competition setting, what's it matter? It doesn't. It's the same thing like the UFC. Nate Diaz, or is he have any nerves? No, because he'd take a fight on 3 days' notice.
Yeah.
Then you got Sean O'Malley who uses it in terms of keeping him in a flow state. So he's in that middle bit trying to keep him in the equilibrium. And then you've got like the other guys, so like Rob Gronkowski, that's pain relief because he's 6'6".
Yeah.
His body needs to take, so the inflammation's longer. It's blood flow.
Yeah.
So that's how I see the answer.
So you mentioned law, and I want to come back to that.
Sure.
So where do you see CBD and THC
right.
holistically? Where do you see it going in terms of use in sport, use medically? I think, I mean, the telltale signs are kind of there. It seems like it's been spoken about a lot more in the powers that be. But where do you see it going?
So I've partnered up with Drug Science on Project 2021, and what that is an observational study, and is based off if you use the substance, it's not for us to know, it's just log the data. So if we're looking at building a system, well, we can see the reasons that come up, what are the highlighted systems that come up. And again, it's not about directing you to have to use it. It's one of those things where last option. Can we deal with it with an intervention? Can we talk you out of your situation? What is the actual solution to your problem? Because again, someone like myself, I could have a problem, but then you give me that, there's no problem.
Yeah.
That's different. So moving forward, you're going to see the medical industry change in 6 to 9 months. You've got CBD sort of, it's like pharmacies now. You're getting to the level of you have a problem with A, you get A, you B, C, D, E. So moving forward, it is based on that framework. It has to be scientific research, and this is where Project 2021 comes in. If the NFL's so far ahead in cannabis research, well, it makes total sense to look at a population, understand how it works. And again, it's not about the government or the police trying to find out what you're doing, because if you look at what we're saying is the recreational industry, we're expecting the UK to suddenly look at cannabis like it's the Chelsea Flower Show. That's not going to happen in any feasible world. If you won't get people to go look at tomatoes that are so big, you're not going to see the same thing with cannabis in 5 years. So it's medical understanding. Where's it going? It's accepted, but you need prescribers. It's the same thing, just like with Oxycontin and how that boomed up. Is because so many people were prescribing it because they got a fee for prescribing it to people for X, Y, and Z. That's how you push drugs. So if it helps A, B, C, D, and E, you're not pushing it because people are coming to you and saying, I need that for this. So, for instance, Sativex is there for epilepsy. So any person that has an epileptic problem, I ask for this. Well, that's for A. So that's kind of the answer to the question is, it's getting into that framework, but you need more data to pull it out, if that makes sense.
And am I right in saying that the UK are the largest, is it exporters?
Yes, we're the largest. 40% of the world's medical cannabis comes from this country or from a partner country or company in somewhere else.
And I think, I don't think a lot of people actually know that.
No.
When you mentioned it to us, I was kind of surprised because one, you don't actually, I mean, you hear about it being spoken about, but it's not like, for example, California, where you have certain places that are legalized to dispense cannabis. It's not the same over here.
No.
Yet we are the biggest exporters of the actual product, which you know, it says a lot. And then you talk about law. I think we touched on it slightly on part one. It's still illegal right now. In terms of, again, the future, what are some of the things that you have discovered about cannabis, both THC and CBD, along your journey? So from when you started using the product to where you are now, what are some of the things that maybe either took you by surprise or bits of knowledge that you feel like people should know?
So main things I've learned is they use it in America if you stick to it as a sort of system, is in your health system of you have a problem, use this. You keep sticking to it, you don't choose anything else, your body is going to learn and adapt, and you will learn more about yourself because you're using something organic. So again, if you use codeine or you lose products like that, as we spoke on part 1, as Jay said, brain fog. Well, that then leads to mental clarity, that then leads to function, that leads to all of those things. When you actually learn that CBD actually improves that, so that's a mood enhancer, that's a benefit. So that means I benefit with my output, because it's like having it's like petrol in your system, but then you pay that little bit extra for that finer bit of petrol. Yeah. That's probably the way that I've learned and I've understood myself. Is the same thing as the understanding of Project 21 is the medical system will drive down the price on street cannabis, but what you got to look at is if you can lead to this position, it will help you, but you have to look at why. Everyone is independent. It's the same thing as like a DNA thumbprint. So my own same thing that I learned is there is things out there where you can learn that, find that information. What does that information tell you about you? How can you help yourself? So as again, I found out that a certain terpene profile, so a terpene is just like a flower, every flower smells different. Find that out and you'll find a lot out about yourself. Right. So when I found out, so for myself, humenaline, so for me, it improves function. So it's an appetite suppressant. It's sort of like a brain, it clears my head, and it's almost like a Red Bull. So that's one of those things. I'd use that over putting high amount of sugar in my system, high amount of this, when I could just use this holistically, organically grown, used product that's medically accepted. It does A, B, and C. I can use that for that reason. So that's something I've learned along the way. Yeah. Another thing I've learned along the way is that every person has a different opinion and uses it a different way. Yeah. And then what you have to appreciate is that that's like asking someone to make you a cup of tea. Everyone's cup of tea is different. Yeah. So you have to appreciate that you can't take that much information from it. You can only take a little bit, but again, you may not like tea in the end up. So that's something I've definitely learned from it, is moving forward, you've got to be open to understanding. Because if you was to use it for post-game, I learned that for me, oils, so tinctures, and something that is ingested is much better on your system because it's in your stomach. Your stomach gut bio would figure it out a lot better, and your body would organically deal with it. Then instead of if you was to use it combustibly or something like that, that's something I don't recommend. Okay. Because if you look at the degrees of Celsius of when you combust it, that's 2,000 degrees. So you're inhaling a gas that's 2,000 degrees hot. Your body's temperature, most gases it will take most is 180 degrees. So then look at that, 2,000 degrees to 180. That's clearly too much for your body to take in. Yeah. So again, that's why CBD oils, that's why all things like this have taken off, because it's easier bioavailability. Yeah. So it's like solution, how diluted and how easily it can get in your system.
Okay. Another thing, you mentioned that some of the things that I've seen promoted, they all look appealing in a way that it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, because obviously there's a stigma, right? This is so you have to make it look appealing. You have to make it look medical almost.
This is the bit.
And I don't know what you're about to say, but I was just going to say, how would you, if you had someone who was, I don't know, you were trying to get into a particular team. Let's say you were trying to get into BAFA, right? Yeah. You were trying to introduce CBD into BAFA, or aspects of CBD or cannabis into BAFA, and you're getting the pushback, right? This may or may not link into what you was about to say. No. But how would you then respond to that? What kind of stops are you pulling out? Are you going for all the fact file? Are you naming all the benefits? And are you staying away from the negative side?
So there's a lot to it. If you look at all the sports that use cannabis, there's two that come top of the pile. Well, there's three: basketball, NFL, skateboarding.
Skateboarding, actually.
Again, it makes total sense. Yeah. But then here's the thing: skateboarding is now Olympically recognised. Yeah. Basketball is Olympically recognised. American football isn't. If you put American football in every single other country, you will find one person is using cannabis medically in one way or another because some family friend or someone else from something.
Yeah.
That's the point, is like everyone else is on board. Like rugby have understood that 8% of a study done by Graham Close at Liverpool John Mawson University, 8% of all the people that have tried cannabis have not looked back, dropped all the opioids, dropped everything and carried on using it. So
Which
then
is
if
a
you
benefit.
again benefit 80 minutes continuous pounding, American football, car crash. That's a different sense of healing you need. Well, that makes sense that you need to be looking at it in some way, shape or form. If you're looking at it from concussion protocol, the NFL are looking into it with Harvard. So again, Calvin Johnson, first thing he did when he made his company public is he spoke about Harvard Medical School. Now that's not the bottom, that's the top.
Yeah, you got to back. Yeah.
Then the first person he comes out with is probably one of the most recognised doctors, and the first thing he looks at is the difference in every plant can help destroy pancreatic cancer. So if you're talking slam dunk, proof there you go that the reason why we need to know about everything is every single one helps you. Second part, what's the relatable part of the UK? Top Boy, The Wire, anything on telly? What do you want to do? Musicians? Where do we want to go? We've got Claudia Winkleman riding a horse talking about CBD. So we're talking oversaturated, but what we've still got, no one's really talking and saying these conversations that we have here. So this is appreciation to Exs and Os. This is what rugby have already done. This is what ice hockey have already done. American football, we haven't. American football in the US have done that. Kyle Turley, he come out and said about it. Marvin Washington, he come out and said. Calvin Johnson. Over here in the UK,
Jay-Z has his own.
Jay-Z's on it, in on it. Like Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson. I could reel off all these names that are making money, and then the next point, what's the amount of money they've made from being in the industry 1 or 2 years? Calvin Johnson, £25 million.
Yeah.
So where are we going with this if the UK, if we can make 40% of the world's medical cannabis?
Yeah.
So does that make sense? It's numbers.
Yeah, I think you would almost say it's a matter of time before that type of
the domino is gonna fall.
Yeah, the effect. Yeah,
the domino's gonna fall.
It's almost as if they're waiting for like that domino effect from one big event or piece from somewhere to click, and then everyone goes,
absolutely.
Oh, you know what? Actually, let's roll with this effect.
Absolutely, because this is. But then this is the issue with rolling with it. But when you need to be, if you're a sport in body like BAFA or you're like the RFU, aftercare. The RFU got slated ages ago for aftercare for players not like playing 15 years at a club. Okay, where you going next? All right, see you out the door.
Yeah.
So we're an athlete. We have athletic players that are going to the NFL, going to Europe, CFL, going all around here, being paid money. BAFA still doesn't have an aftercare solution. Is that because we're an amateur status? But we have £50,000 that we pay to someone that can help us make something. Now this is the benefit of Pete Ackley.
Yeah.
I said to Pete, aftercare, do we have something in place? No. Okay, I'll write something. Do you have a look at it? Sure, I'll have a look at it. Where's that gone? Sports Science Committee. So then the Sports Science Committee are looking at my proposal for the aftercare, the use of cannabis for aftercare, and then here's the next bit. My community interest project is called THC, Total Holistic Control. So the stigma all comes down to that one word.
Yeah.
What does it benefit for most people? Total holistic control of their appetite, their mood, or something.
Yeah.
But it has to be last option because again, 20,000 years ago they weren't using it then. They were just functioning human beings. It's something that has become an adaptation.
Yeah.
That is something that we're moving forward with in the UK. But BAFA, we could be ahead of it because the NFL's like the leading researchers in it. Rugby's got the play in the game, and you look at it in the pot in money and making up all the revenue for sport, like Pure Sport Rugby, Grayson Hart, Friends of Sam Portland, Rugby.
Yeah.
George Croix and Dominic Day, 4-5, Rugby. There's no American football representation this side of the water.
There isn't.
I know that for a fact because I've spoken to everyone. I know that for a fact.
It's interesting, man.
Because I'm trying to bring them over here and saying, like, have a look at this, have a look at that. So it's definitely a conversation that is just wait. How long does it take before we have someone in the NFL that's come from the UK and said I use it?
Yeah.
So this is a topic I just want to bring up.
Cool,
Justin Fields.
Oh,
So
yeah.
everyone understands Justin Fields has got epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
He has had he uses the medical system for it. Do we know what form that is in? No. Could that be him self-medicating? Yes. Is that a problem? No. What is the benefit of him being in Chicago? Chicago's cannabis industry is worth £4 billion now.
I didn't know that.
So
he's almost landed in the
Justin
perfect,
Fields being signed to Chicago.
He's a
we'll
dope
take
quarterback,
that.
We'll
take that. What's then a big thing that I put it up the other day? Everyone saw his preseason hit. His helmet come off his head.
Yeah, I saw that.
NFL, he's got epilepsy. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
We're still making helmets, and helmets are flying off people. Now, it's not on the protection for sliding left. It's not on the fact that the Justin didn't make the throwing time. He knew that the guy was coming free. That's a system. That's football. But again, there's a problem with the equipment because the equipment's still coming off the guy's head. And again, he needs a helmet that is the same fitting as a racing car driver. Because again, you're talking to someone with proof. I've smashed the face mask off 2 helmets when I played. And I said that in part 1.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Not good enough.
That's the point, man. That's a...
Again, I'm not running... can I run 30 miles an hour? No. It's intent. That's the point. And if you look at what you talk about the NFL, you have to do something with intent. Now, if it's a 4th and 1 yard line, we win the game if he stops that line. Intent is to make sure he doesn't cross that line. Now, is the outcome the outcome?
Yeah.
Yes. But again, did I strap my seatbelt on? Did I put the key in the ignition? Did everyone say you ready to go? Yeah, I still did it. So that's not on anyone else. That's on me. But again, Justin Fields has got to make a decision after being hit in the head and his helmet coming off and he's got epilepsy. And you're going to pump in what? You're hoping he's going to be a 160, 200 million pound player. You best hope his head doesn't deteriorate like an ex-Chicago.
Well,
this is just to cut. Sorry, not to cut you off.
Go ahead, man.
Justin Mahomes, who was the ex-Chicago Bears QB.
Okay.
So he's had issues with his eyesight. He wears sunglasses. He's using cannabis. Justin Fields could be just like history repeating itself if he's not looked after. So this is the same thing here. The NFL could be 20 years ahead if they look at this aftercare and they get ahead of it. Which is why Calvin Johnson's saying, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on board with it.
Yeah.
Eugene Monroe coming out and saying things. It's one of those positions now where the NFL are accepting that guys are using it for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then retirement plan. Well, I set up an industry. I set up this. I employ people. Again, aftercare, the NFL will just, fine. You're supported. You give him back. Great, benefit. In the UK, we don't have that with football. Like, you're only seeing it now with Marcus Rashford doing what JJ Watt did with the Hurricane Fund.
Oh, yeah.
There's no difference with what Marcus Rashford's done. But the problem is where's the next Marcus Rashford doing something else? We've done hunger, schools, great. Okay, what we doing with the homeless? What we doing with the sea? What we doing with the air? What we doing with pollution? There's all these other solutions that we can come up with that are in-house because half the time you find it with American football, there's some dude on your course that studied marine biology or something, and you find out 10 years later, have an issue, phone him up, he can help you with an issue. That's the thing with the NFL that they built with this aftercare, is keeping everyone involved. They can use them in some way, shape or form.
Yeah. I feel like in terms of BAFA and a topic like this, I feel like it's hard to compare to the NFL, obviously, but when you look at the differences, I feel like, we can't even do certain things right, let alone talk about helmets and aftercare. So I just feel like we're so far away from any of that. You might be able to tell me otherwise, though.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So, this is as I proposed. I proposed the aftercare system. I proposed how you'd look at it. I also spoke to Wayne Drew, lifting the lid.
Oh yeah, great.
Now
guy.
again, BAFA, I asked Wayne, is he the partner as the mental health awareness charity for your league aimed at lifting the lid?
That's a good question.
Do you know what the answer
is? That's a good question.
No, they haven't approached me.
Yeah.
So again, God rest his soul, Joshua Meldrum, the gentleman who committed suicide.
Yeah.
BAFA, I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm not saying you're in trouble, you've done anything wrong. I'm not attacking the board or whatever. But could we have done better? Yeah, that's fine. It's not about being the blame or being a politician. We could have been in place. We could have helped someone. Let's now put it in place.
Yeah.
It's not a case of pointing a finger or who's wrong or whatever. Because again, it's not saying Joshua used cannabis, but What if you found out that he had such a bad mental health problem and he used it, and then found out he was much better afterwards? You don't know, because that was not an opportunity that was available for him.
Yeah.
Do you know if him having a chat with someone like on this made him better?
Yeah.
We don't know. That's the point. Because we don't know, it's why we should do something about it.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because you mentioned lifting the lid, and we've had some of the guys on the show before, and we're in regular contact with those guys. They do some great work. Now that you mention it, there isn't an arm of Buffer that looks almost like an aftercare. There isn't. It doesn't exist. And I'm just thinking, why doesn't it exist? Like, it doesn't really make sense.
Because we're an amateur sport and we haven't got the time and effort.
Yeah.
But then this is the point: is it's not a problem with the time and effort, because again, this is why I've come on here to talk about this.
Okay, so
do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, fully, man, fully. And I'm glad we got you back for part 2. Cause I think a lot of people would be interested to hear all of this. So to kind of summarize things and to leave your final word almost.
Yeah.
CBD THC. What is happening with it? What is the conclusion, the evaluation, the summary? Where do you see it going in, let's say, I don't know, 5 to 10 years? Where do you see the ideal world of the product?
So I got you. So I do the ideal world in 6 months.
Okay.
And then I do the ideal world in 18 months, and then I go 3 years.
All right.
So the ideal thing in 6 months, if people are using it, we know who's using it. Doesn't matter. It's not a problem. No one cares. Why? Because you can go in Holland and Barrett's and get it. No one cares.
Yeah.
The police don't care. Yeah. No one actually cares. If the police are in conjunction with cannabis prescription cards in harm reduction units and what I'm doing like myself, what do they know? They don't know anything.
Yeah.
So what's the point here? We don't know anything. We want to help. Because again, we're not charging you for it. We're not going after it because it's coming medically. If you've got a card, the police can't do anything then.
Yeah.
So the police they're like, well, that's all their weight off our shoulders. Let's quickly get all these things in place. 18 months. Medical cards will be available. You'll be able to go to a prescription, take your prescription to a registered clinic or a pharmacy. But again, I think the problem is pharmacy getting a license. That's a lot of money you can make. You can charge on that, and then every pharmacy that's got a license, you can tax it, and then you can do that. So that's the issue I see.
Okay.
But in 3 years, it will be accepted. It will be far in the taillights. We will have gone far past this problem, because we'll be looking at all different things. Like now we're into psychedelics. We're now into, this is the same, like drug science. They're looking into the long-term use of cocaine now. So again, I don't even want to go into that. Like, we're only just understanding this, guys.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. This is in, say, 3-5 years. They're just figuring that out, and they already know they got all these other things they got to figure out. Because if you've got Portugal and you've got all these countries that are just like said everything's acceptable, we haven't got to deal with it. Harm reduction units where you could go use your A, B, and C under supervised provision. But understanding why you're using it, what's your problem? Let's dissect it. Let's intervene. So again, my answer is 3 months to 6 months. Any information is valuable information because it's not logged. 18 months moving forward, you will receive benefits from giving that information. 3 years, it will have made the framework, which would probably have made a lot of money for this country and helped supporting a lot of things, put a lot of people in work, and help make a lot of people's problems better. That's how I see it long term. Is the whole point.
Man, that's if you can join part 1 and part 2, that's a lot of useful information. Because again, I don't think people know about THC and CBD, but not the finer details and not the inner workings and not how it operates and how it can operate as a service and a business. But we appreciate you coming on, because that is a lot of information, and I know for a fact we didn't know a lot of that. So
no, it's all right.
We appreciate you coming on.
No, again, thank you very much.
But anyone you want to shout out?
There's a lot of people I'll shout out. Dr. Callie Seaman. So she is the first person that I spoke to that put me into, I found out this information of mine is of use.
Right.
So she said to me, like, it's going to be, the C's are going to be high, they're going to be low. Go out there and it's going to help people. The information I've passed on is helping people with medical access and is helping, as I said, Project 2021. I'm partnership to helping all the universities, make sure every university student, you have access. I am the port of call.
Right.
I understand you are not talking to the police, you're talking to me. What does that mean? You have a problem, I want to help you.
Yeah.
I'm just here to help. I don't want to be a solution to the problem. I don't want to be the cause of making more problems. I want to be the solution.
Okay.
So that's my special shout out. Sam Portland, because Sam Portland put me in touch with Grayson Hart. Grayson Hart runs Pure Sports CBD. He took the whole idea of cannabis and put it into 5 mile runs, charity.
Okay.
So he took the whole other side of it. So he's
Yeah.
a special shout out. And obviously a special shout out to you guys.
Oh,
because obviously the media training that this platform has gave me has been absolutely astounding, and how much better it is into speaking and use of it. So if you are anyone in this industry, in American football, UK, Europe or whatever, this is a platform that you will need to be a part of in the next 5 years.
We massively appreciate that, man.
That's a fact.
That's dope. We massively
That's a
appreciate
fact.
that. Well, that's what we do. You know, we like to say we give people a voice. So
yes,
that's essentially
exactly it.
That's
That's exactly it.
Appreciate you coming on again, guys. That's been the Exs and Os podcast. Keep it locked, and we'll see you soon.